What is this garbage on here?
You're live.
Okay. We're alive now.
Yeah, finally.
We have been brought back to us.
Excuse me.
Oh, my belly, that's too close to Zoom time to eat.
I'm so back to.
Okay, well, on a good way, a job coffee for and see you starting. Good heat on Zrio, you just go, we know you, that's going to start, and I'm not Rooney. That you know what I'll do, go to Gary, I guess. You have to sort to us, conquer the rough, then you think it's not, you won't argue, then I'll go get Scott, and in English. That you know what I'll do. So a year, and it couldn't do him heads to that goes, then a guizini ganyata da gerdo dana a guego of waziri and uka suka. Retinu da do yeti sort of gun on there, though not the headstone, gonna go here that you have a quick. I don't care again, had dumb dawi are on headstone because it's stasser and the gunungu. Dumb dawi are on headstone because it's stasser and I said, leave that dart again, the younger hug, Radinato, Ronata Rooney, done a risk of again. Dana a guego on a gordo, going on us go on the scanner. Dam dawe aron hetsera ne ori huio kari wo gori shunsera dana because it's nasera. Dam dawe aron hetsera ne gayanda wana ne gani huio. Okay, so as you know, every time that we get together for a meeting, council, ceremony, anything of importance, you always have to carry out Honda Gadi Wadekwa first. This is the words that come before all else, where we give thanks for the things in creation that have created us and the things that we need to continue to sustain us. So, as you know, we always do the opening the same way. And if you have been with us in the past, you know what we identify and make things smooth, real slipstream tonight, because this is our last communication with each other before the law. Oh no, wait, we have Wednesday night Zoom still. Well, this is our last Saturday night with each other before the law recital, and then the last time we will actually be together is going to be Wednesday night, and then that's going to be it until law recital. So this is really now it's like we're on the final approach now. Everything that in my life, everything that we worked for, everything that I was taught, educated in, is accumulating now. It's all coming to a head in this time, in the time of the night moon, the time of the recital. So things are getting how would you say, how would I say it? Like we're getting anxious. A lot of work is being done, a lot of business is happening. You know, everything is getting ready for what's going to happen in a few days. So business as usual, well, it's not really happening right now. Even like as far as even just cutting our grass, it's not really happening like business as usual, because this the law recital coming up has everything just taking a backseat. You know, we're really busy. We're really spread real thin on a lot of things. So just for that, I'm just going to skip over the translation of the Honda Gadi Wadekwa tonight, and just to identify that in the past 2 weeks, I mentioned some of this. I don't know if it was on Wednesday Zoom or if it was last Saturday, I forget now. But there's been a lot of things, a lot of business happening on a daily basis, say like at least a minimum of 2 things a day, 2 different things, people bringing issues, wanting to address things. So it's gotten really busy. We can see the activity, and this is because everybody can sense that there is something getting ready to happen. Something's going on. And I can see this, I've detected it also on social media, of course. It's the algorithm. You can see that on the algorithm that there is a lot of activity in, you want to say Indian country. A lot of activity happening all around, and as far as, say, like, not necessarily correction, but like the preamble to it, where it's in that vein of everybody knowing something's going down, something's happening, and everybody's scrambling, trying to get into order or get into line with whatever they feel is coming. I see things on people coming up with plans of correction for whatever, like, let's say, not for your entire life, but maybe you've been doing something wrong, and the way that you tie your shoes. So I see people coming up with plans for correction in things such as that. So without realizing it right now, that people collectively are approaching, have already engaged in an evolution. We are ready to evolve because of everything that you see in the world, all of the corruptions, all of the lies, all of the war, just male dominant corruption. The world is sick and tired of the male dominance. Even in the non-native world, I can state, because I've heard firsthand, spoken with people firsthand, where in the non-native world, non-native women, white women, are just fed up with their, if you want to call it, like, their line, or what's happening within their people. Fed up to the point of where they don't want anything to do with certain things. They don't want to be involved now in certain social structures, different social aspects of our existence. They don't want to be involved in political things, in other things like this, because everybody's just so sick and tired and fed up of corruption from head to toe, left to right, everywhere you turn. It's like being in the middle of a hornet's nest of corruption. No matter which way you go, corruption, up, down, left, right, in every other direction. No matter what is happening in this world, everybody has legitimate gripes against corruptions on any level. Corruptions in whatever, on political levels, like we said, religious levels, social levels, organizational levels, and even right down to the levels of, as you know, individual businesses. People are fed up with the business practices of the so-called economy. Because in the last couple of years, we look at, let's say, 2 years ago, I bought this lighter. I don't know if you can see it. I would say 2 years ago, this lighter was maybe $1. I don't know how much. But now, 2 years later, they're not selling you the same size lighter. They're selling you one that's half size for $1.50. And so everybody is experiencing this, that this is a great theft of the people through one access route into your pocket. Now you would think, like, if you were going to rob somebody, let's say, in order for you to rob the whole world, you'd have to rob one person at a time, go whatever, or maybe go in and rob a bank and take that out. But you, in order to, not in order, in the last couple of years, what has been done to everyone is that business collectively, the economy, which goes right back to government, because the government is the one that grants the permits and collects the taxes. So it goes right back to government. As to the hyperinflation in the last couple of years, paying twice as much and even more than that. In a lot of cases, you're paying 400 or 500% more than you did on any given thing, from a couple of years ago, more now. But you're getting less. You look at everything, go to any fast food and order a supersized fry. And you're gonna see your supersized fry is the size of a large fry from 2 years ago. And you're paying more for that supersized fry. And if you're getting fast food, you're getting hamburgers, they're smaller than they were 2 years ago. So this is something I don't have to tell everybody. Everybody knows this. It's happening everywhere. So these are some of the things that people are becoming fed up with. How could this happen? When just yesterday, everything seemed to be, on a, well, given the fact that in the non-native world, it's all piracy anyways, it's all theft and destruction. But, a couple of years ago, there was a certain level of, I don't know, certain level of balance, where things were kind of kept in check, where things were still kind of, pricings and that were still kind of determined by supply and demand. No, it's not determined by that anymore, supply and demand. Now it's supply, 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 even if there's no demand, and the price is so high that everything is locked into now a process of where you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to get this addition, like you buy a phone and you have to get this app, you have to get this other app, you have to get this other thing, or you buy something initially and you have to keep buying and adding on and paying and paying and paying. This is the kind of thing where in the past it wasn't like that. You bought something for your kids, a toy or something, and that was it. Now there's an upgrade on it. There's an upgrade on it every week. There's an upgrade on it almost on a daily basis. So the thing that you paid whatever price for initially, well, you're paying for it over and over. And these are the things that people are ultimately getting fed up with, sick and tired of the nonsense of the non-native world. So we see a lot of people beginning to make change, beginning to even streamline their own lives, their lifestyle, streamlining, like cutting out where, maybe you don't go out to eat, you don't go out to a restaurant for dinner, or maybe you only go to the movies on cheap night or something, but people are starting to streamline. And this is because, of course, over the last 2 years, with everybody's money being stolen out of their pockets, jobs being lost, livelihoods being taken away, of course, everybody's just squeezed. And again, it's this squeezing that everybody is disillusioned with, fed up with. And as a result of it, looking for change, looking to try to make the change. But like we said, everybody is being forced into more destruction. I don't know if everybody's aware of this, but we made a post about this a couple of days ago in the so-called United States, that Biden put forward a bill to curb inflation. Now, right off the top of your head, you hear that, a bill to curb inflation. You can't do that. There's no such thing. It's not gonna. How are you going to litigate away inflation? Well, of course, you have to look at the bill to know what it's doing, what the plan is in there. Anyways, upon closer examination of this bill that Biden claims is at the same time to fight inflation, he claims that it's how did they put it? To fight against global warming or global climate change also. Like it's this bill is supposed to supposedly take that into consideration. But even if it doesn't, let's just look at what the one tiny thing of this bill that Biden just put forward, what it does. It's supposed to be about or at least half about taking care of the environment. Forget it. because Biden's bill to curb inflation gives tax incentives and subsidies to everyone to buy electric vehicles. So there you go. You'd think that is a bill to curb inflation. This is a bill to put us on a collision course, a crash course with our own destruction. Because now because Biden is funding the extraction of lithium out of our Mother Earth, rare metals, and all of these things that it takes to create these cars, these batteries. So what the so-called United States just did in light of a worldwide looming environmental catastrophe, Biden just made it worse. He just made it worse by calling it a inflation bill, a bill to curb inflation. And think of this, it will generate billions of dollars within a corrupt society called the United States, because everybody there is forced. You're forced. If you got a tax incentive and tax breaks and subsidies for you to get an electric vehicle, well, that's what you're going to do. And who's going to do this? Not the rich people, the poor people. The poor people are the ones first, a couple of years ago, were relegated to being the ones left driving clunkers, fossil fuel burning clunkers, cars that get the worst gas mileage, that are the worst polluting, breaking down, because that's all poor people can afford. Poor people can't afford a nice new car or even to fix their cars. So if a poor person knocked their muffler off their car, well, poor person is automatically the one contributing more to the destruction of the environment. But it only seems like that. The reality is it is spread out equally right across the non-native society. It doesn't matter who you are. Everybody is equally responsible and has an equal hand in the destruction of our Mother Earth. And now with Biden's bill to curb inflation, this is a death sentence to our Mother Earth's, to the environment of our Mother Earth, to the ecosystem. It's a death sentence. So you always hear us talking about inversion. Now, right now is a good time to get a good grasp of that concept of inversion and how it works. Look at absolutely everything and just think in your own head the absolute opposite, as opposite as you can think. Think that, and most likely that is what the truth is, not what you are seeing or looking or what's being fed to you. So this is what is looming now over us. So I'll tell you from a native perspective, what Biden's bill is we're looking on the pirate ship, and the pirate captain, Biden, is saying, okay, everybody go out there, and there's the shore, go and rape, go and pillage, go and loot, all that you can. This is the second wave of genocide. And when we consider how much we know about what's happening to the ecosystem, the destruction to it, science is very clear on it. Science has been refining its own guessing process, because science, non-native science, it's a joke, but that about 10, 15 years ago, non-native science, 20 years ago, I mean, put a time frame on when the different checkpoints or road markers along the way that we would hit, indicating that we're in a full-blown environmental recession. And so these indicators, such as say like 20 years ago when they said by the end of the century, we'll reach that 2-degree mark. And what else did they say? Well, they said by 2030 about the UN's declaration about the environment. But now we're seeing over the last, just this year, just since the beginning of this year, we're seeing science backstep on all of their predictions and saying, and they're not like correcting the process of how they arrive at those predictions. What they're doing is they're just saying that our predictions were wrong. You know, they're not even questioning the process of how they've arrived at these conclusions. Now, how did they arrive at these conclusions of, let's say, we're going to reach the 2-degree mark by the end of the century? How did they arrive at that? Well, they didn't. Scientifically, they did not arrive at that conclusion. What they did is they knew scientifically, you know, it wasn't the end of the century, but it's too much for people to handle. So what science did, in fact, do is they lied to you. Science has lied to you. Now, is this a big surprise to everybody? Your politicians have been liars all along. Your academia is a lie, as you see right now, throughout, even so here in so-called Canada now. Prior to a year ago or something, it was really only in the States where they had this revisionist history, and they were, what do they call it? The critical history or something. And they're saying now not to be taught in the schools. So they don't want it, the truth, to be taught in the schools, to like identify, to teach about slavery and what really happened, the real racism, the lynchings, the hatred, the all of that stuff. These are the things, as you can see now, they are eliminating these things out of the education process. So education, as you know, it's a lie. I mean, how else can you arrive at creating nuclear power? Because this was created from within the academic world. So, you know, the academic world has always been a lie. Maybe not a lie that it's not true what they're saying, but a lie in as far as that here's two things. And it's like saying to a baby, here's a toy and here's a loaded gun. Now, when you give a baby a loaded gun, you're not really lying, but you're lying in as far as what you are representing, that you're not a human to give a loaded gun to a baby. Did I say give a baby to a loaded gun? Is that what I said? Give a baby to a loaded gun. Anyways, did I say that?
I don't know.
Or am I just imagining I said that?
I don't know, maybe my brain remembered.
Very hot day today. The heat got to everybody, so I don't even know what the hell we're saying now. Give a baby to a loaded gun. Okay,
Elsa raised her hand just.
in this last couple of weeks, like I said, there was a lot of things coming up, a lot of business, people bringing a lot of issues. It's like as if people know that the door is closing, and they got to get their issues on the floor before the door closes. And like we said, I've never seen this in my life. Just in the past 2 weeks, people bringing so much stuff, supporting, you know, bringing, like I said, first, what was it? Somebody brought like a dozen steaks to us. Somebody gave us bags of medicine. And then another person came, others came and gave us $600 to assist, to help the Longhouse in whatever that we're doing. And then this week also, just the other day, I don't know if you can see up there, somebody brought me 3 eagle feathers. Look at that. 3 beautiful eagle feathers. I don't think you can see, like, really appreciate them from where you're seeing it, but these are big, beautiful eagle feathers. They come from BC. Somebody from there wrapped them up, sent them to somebody here, and then somebody here came and gave them here, gave them to me. And this is part of like I'm saying, the support that we've been seeing. Some people, they'll leave us $600. Some people will give us feathers. Some people will give us medicine. And this is not to say that, well, a poor person, well, like, not saying anybody's got to give us anything, but like a poor person is going to say, oh, well, I can't give $600, you know, whatever. But this is what we're seeing. People are giving or are supporting by giving us things that they know that we need, that we can use. The eagle feathers. I was just saying last week, well, I didn't say this to anybody, but I was thinking it to myself, that the Gastoa of Honored at Goa is getting worn. It's like it's been through a battle and it needs some new feathers. I was just thinking that, but I was saying I'm not going to get new feathers until after the recital. The Gastoa of Honored at Goa is going to remain as like it's gone through a battle. Anyways, so somebody brought me these 3 feathers just like that. Like I was thinking about it. Here we need it. So let me show you. I'll get the Gastoa and have an idea. Now, some of you know the story of this Gastoa. This is the Gastoa of Honored at Goa. Now, Honored at Goa, the title of Honored at Goa, this was my mother's title. She held that title. And the male holding that title that my mother had the authority over was the late Chief Joe Phillips. He died in 1985. And this was his Gastoa. He was condoled in 1946. Now, it's not his original Gastoa. People can see, even there's pictures of when they went to Washington and Ottawa, and there's a whole bunch of them there. You could see the late Chief Joe Phillips there with his older Gastoa, the leather one, where it's all instead of feathers here, it was just leather and the feathers on the top. Anyways, this was his Gastoa that was later on after 46. I can't say the exact year, but I know that it had to be sometime before the 60s anyways, because this is from the 60s. This is what Joe was wearing on his brow way back when we were still all one house. So the story of this, as it goes, is that our chief, Honored at Goa, died in 1985. And what's supposed to happen is that the other nations are supposed to come and condole when a chief dies. And of course, they know this because as soon as the chief dies, send a runner out to go inform all the other nations, because whenever a chief, a title dies, this stops everything. It does, nothing stops for anything else. Just for that. You could be in the middle of the biggest ceremony. You could be in the middle of the law recital, and law recital is going to stop. If a title holder passes from this world within ceremony or within anything, whatever it is, stops completely. So he died in 1985. My mother sent out the runners right away. They never came. And so there was 3 attempts that we done. 85, it was right away. And then in 87, And then finally, in '89, just before my mother died, she wanted the business closed up to know what was going on. So we went out in this final time, and this is when on you want to say both sides, the Onondagas and you want to say on the state side and in Grand River, both sides. They told us if we wanted condolence that we would have to accept the Henson Way Code. I told everybody that the one that I spoke to personally in Grand River, who was supposedly holding the title of Taradaho, which was the late Pete Sky, baby dictator, I told him to shove it up his FNS. I told him that never will we ever accept the Christian Hansen Way Code. And so what we had seen at that time in 1989, that this is where we, the people of the Longhouse, had gone on two different paths. The descendants of the people of the Longhouse have been divided. Now, it appears as this. If you're there on the ground since 1989 and you knew what happened and you've seen it, you observed it, well, it would look like, yeah, we're divided. But this isn't really what has happened. Not at all. If, can you get that image of that lizard again? We're going to share this picture again. I just reposted it, so
I have it somewhere else.
it's there within the last two posts. Either it's today I reposted it.
Yeah, it's on my computer.
So just share just that image, nothing else.
Can you? It's a new word for sharing. That's okay.
You understand?
People are giggly. Okay, so this picture, we're going to use this picture a lot to get people to understand whatever it is that we're talking about. We're going to use this picture as the example. So this is what has happened to the people of Five Nations Longhouse Confederacy. And the final phase of it, as to like what you're seeing here in this lizard or gecko or whatever it is, you know that there's a final phase that made it irreversible, where that entire skin, the outer layer of skin, is now dead and released from the living body, separate from it. You know that there was one last final phase where that was made complete. And for us, for the people of the Longhouse, the Five Nations Confederacy, this was 1989. Now, not just because of what I just said, that, well, they wanted, in order to condole us again, that they wanted us to accept Hanson Way. Not just because of that, because there was a lot of other things happen also in that summer, 1989. The final legal Grand Council was in August of 1989. And anybody who was at that council would know about it, but you never hear anyone throughout all the other nations ever. You never hear anyone, and even the Ganyangahaga, you never hear anyone talk about that council. The last council, August 1989, what took place there. The biggest corruption of a so-called warrior society, headed up by a woman, Dale Diome, here in town, standing there in front of chieftainship titles in the Onondaga Longhouse, as she stood there with a bunch of clanless people behind her, telling them that they're going to shut down the council if those chiefs don't address their issue of bingo and cigarettes. That this was the biggest corruption that ever took place within the history of people of the Longhouse. Now, for the people on the ground, we look at it as that, the biggest corruption, that it was a political corruption. Okay, let's extrapolate that to this image that you're looking at right now. So there, in 1989, the final complete division of the people of the Longhouse going their two separate ways is basically what you see in this picture. The dead, us shedding the dead skin, but the dead skin is still temporarily there. It's an illusion of that it has control over the body, because you still see, like in this picture, it's white all over the body, even in on the, if that's the arm and leg, you can even say in between its toes or fingers or whatever it is. So everywhere on the body, the eyelids, everywhere, the mouth, the white was still there. And this meant that all the actions, all the motions that the body was taking, the white was right there over it, like looming over it, giving the illusion of that it's in control. Just like what we see in the world, the illusion right now that the non-native white society, that there's this illusion that they are in control. When you look at this picture here, is the white in control? Well, they're not in control of the living body, that's for sure. But they are a part of a process of the living body that comes around on a cyclical basis. I don't know for this lizard. I don't know if the lizard sheds its skin every year, like clockwork, like to say at 9 o'clock in the morning, and every year, say January 1st, if that lizard sheds their skin like that. I'm not sure, but the fact is that it is cyclical, just the same way that a woman's moon is cyclical. You're not going to have every moon going to be exactly 25 days, or 26, or 28, 27. Sometimes they're going to be 33 days. Sometimes it will be 25 days. So just to identify that, yes, it is a cycle. It is cyclical, but it will happen when it wants, when it's ready. And so this is what we are experiencing right now. Within all of our nations, we feel this letting go. There is an approaching sentiment of euphoria, of optimism, of possibilities. And here, I see and I hear people getting happy about this or that, about little things that, yes, they can feel it. There is, yesterday, I felt the sentiment, the feeling, the spirit of the day, that it was like, wow, there was optimism in that day yesterday. There was possibilities, of truths, of where people are feeling this state of euphoria, that they look at each other and they feel that they can arrive at some kind of conclusion together, that understanding that, yes, they can identify this is fact between them. Whereas in the past, well, you just look at the last 2 years, fake news. What could anybody verify as facts? Even if you look in the dictionary now, you can't even count on that to be a fact, because of what we know now of online, what it's done. You take this like Wikipedia, people look at it and they think that, wow, that's true. Oh, it's a lot of people's truths. It's a lot of people putting in their take or their 2 cents on whatever. Doesn't mean it's true. This is a craziness in the non-native society, where something is not officiated, but it's allowed to be there within the society, like as if they can trust it 100%, like it's official. Yeah, we can do that. It's like prime example I'll give you is what's in the news right now still about that, what happened with Alec Baldwin in that movie set in New Mexico, as what he believed, or what everyone believed. It's not that anybody had to come around and tell them, don't worry, there's not going to be any bullets in the gun. It's just that everybody believed that because that's what you expect. But whatever the belief, it's not so. And it's this way also in the larger body of society, of the society, when you have things like Wikipedia, No, I'm not saying anything bad about Wikipedia. I use it myself. I look at that myself. But then when I look at it and I see that, well, this person added this thing to this interpretation, adding to the meaning of this or how it's interpreted, and then this other person did, and this other person did. And then what we're seeing is a bunch of interpretations that aren't validated, that aren't officiated to say, like the way the FDA is supposed to test food products and approve them only if they're good. Well, we know the FDA doesn't do that. The FDA approves everything that's not good. So you know that they do not put an actual kind of test or upon that thing. And this is the way it is with knowledge. So this is how knowledge or lack of, how knowledge within humans or wisdom is getting worked out of people. We don't see how something like Wikipedia is actually in the future going to be the excuse for people not to look online or not to look for facts in that way. In the future, we're going to be utilizing Wikipedia as the example as what not to do, because this is how that things get out of control. Who of us would just put a loaded gun on the table in a room full of children? We wouldn't do that. That's what the equivalent of like what internet is, what Wikipedia is. It's like putting a gun in the hands of a loaded child. A gun in the hands of a loaded baby. Well, yeah, so yeah, you can take that off. Okay, yeah, so whatever. Let's just go to Elsa then. I'll cut myself short here. And actually, if we ain't got nothing to talk about, I'm not just gonna just sit here and shoot the shit.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy, that should be.
Go ahead, Elsa.
Okay. Hi, Mother Amanda. Sorry, my name is Elsa, daughter of Bison, granddaughter of Leah, great granddaughter of Adelina. I'm from Wabanaki Nation in Life Givers Nation. I'm a temporary Bergla member. I just wanted to bring in information. I got one information emailed and the other one on Facebook. But the one on Facebook is now censored. Aha, I'm surprised. So the information is that now Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, whoever in so-called Canada does their own terrible business right now. They are now waging war to all the farmers. So to tell them that they cannot sell no more their meat. So whatever, if the prices are getting higher and higher for all the meat and vegetables and fruits they can sell to people in the groceries, but also because the people that are supposedly ecologists, they are now encouraging populations to eat insects instead of meat. But the insects there's a component in insects that is also in several mushrooms or whatever other foods or other elements. And this component, sorry, I don't remember the name, scientific name, but the component is actually, it's giving you cancer. So one thing, they are now pushing the farmers not to be able to feed the people, but also behind this strategy, it's also they don't want to, it's not supposed to be digested by humans, those insects. So I'm just saying to everyone to get to know a farmer around you in your area, so you can deal and buy meat and veg from them directly. Don't go to the grocery stores no more, if you can, if it's possible. So that's what I wanted to share.
This sounds like this is how they are pushing the, what do they call that now? The fake meat industry.
Mhm.
You know, this is how they're pushing that. Well, tell the people, eat insects. Oh, you know, people have been, I guess, seeing insects as delicacy since as long as I can remember, maybe back to the 70s, you know, where it was kind of like a fad, chocolate covered crickets and stuff like that, you know. So but when you take away the main food source and then insects and stuff like that, we have to rely on it as our main source of protein, then this is where people will, out of their disgust and anger, the industry, the markets will shift to fake meat. Now, they can't promote it as a source of protein, but this is how they're going to push, how they're going to get to the fake meat being the main staple of everyone.
Mm.
Also, when you look at, you consider what's happening out west, because of the drought and all of that, yes, farmers are starting to dig up their crops. They're pulling out their crops. Now think of this. Why you do that? If you've got them planted already and they're gonna die and you can't, because you're not watering them or whatever reason, why pull them out? What is the purpose in that?
People can get to them.
Well, yeah, so people can't get it, people can't eat it, you know, like there'll be no source of food there. But when you think of it, well, right now it's a drought. What if next week if it rains?
Mm.
Well, then if we pull everything out this week and it rains next week, everything's gone. What's gonna be there? Nothing. Why are they doing this? Because the government is subsidizing them. They're paying. The government is paying farmers to dig up their crops. So just think of it. At this point, for any farmer who's been under stress, unable to cope, you know, take the money from the government. That's free money to them. Free money. But all they got to do is destroy all their crops. That's all they got to do. Now, where else? What else is the government doing in similar to that? in California now, what they're doing is they're paying the people $6 and something, I forget how much, 6 something per square yard or square foot to dig up your lawn. Dig up your lawn. And to plant other plants there that are don't take as much water,
Okay.
you know, that aren't whatever. They're not as
Drought resistant.
yeah, it's in the first place, out west, lawns, you know, they're not there naturally. You know, grass isn't there naturally. But think of this now, for so long, lawns have been there in California since at least say since the 1940s at least. Lawns all over California. So let's see, that's 80 years. So for 80 years, it's all lawns. That means that whatever was the permanent ecosystem, the culture that was there, it's been wiped out. It's been canceled. Grass is there. And now they're paying people to dig that up, to dig up their grass. How is that gonna affect things? Let's just think of all over California. Everybody digs up their lawn. Everybody just thinks, well, I only got a small lawn, so it doesn't really add up to much. Might as well do it. But everybody's got a small lawn, and every small lawn added up together is a huge, huge mass of land. Now, this is a huge mass of land that has grass on it, and that's established for 60 to 80 years. This is a part of the ecosystem, the weather system there now, the transfer of condensation between earth and sky it's become stable there. So now you go and dig that all up. That is gonna have effects on the weather patterns. All of a sudden, the water or the condensation that transfers naturally between that grass that's in every lawn and the sky, all of a sudden that process is gone. What's gonna happen? Who knows what's gonna happen? We can say it's gonna be a negative. Yes, it's gonna be a negative. But we can't say precisely how it's gonna play out. And science doesn't know how it's gonna play out either. But when you think that everything that they do, fossil fuel burning engines first, oh, it's destructive to the environment. It's caused so much pollution. So what's the answer to it? Electric vehicles. Is electric vehicle an answer to pollution? No goddamn way. It actually exacerbates pollution. It makes it worse. So we're seeing whatever anybody sees as solution to a problem, it actually worsens the problem. So what's happening right now in California with this subsidy to get people to dig up their lawns, people are getting, they're not going to get rich off of it. I mean, how big is anybody's lawn? You know, it's not like here. We could probably get rich if we did that.
Yeah.
But if your average person, what do they got as far as lawn goes? You know, that's maybe even less space than square footage than in their house. So an individual person isn't going to get rich off of this, but everybody's going to pay for it from their taxes. Everybody's getting taxed, and the government's taking this money that they're taxing you to pay you to get rid of your lawn. This is all crazy. It's all insane. You know, one thing done wrong in the first instance, and then you do another thing wrong to try to correct it or to compensate. And then no matter what, it's either undercompensation or overcompensation, which then means that you have to overcompensate or undercompensate again. So there's always a constant when in this corruption of wrongs and then supposed solutions, it's always a continuous thing here because their solution to the corrupt thing in the first place is a cause of another corruption, a cause of another problem that they're gonna have to address. So we see it right across the board, crazy things like this happening everywhere. It's in the news. Most people are not seeing it in actually in impacting their life right now. But very soon, and you know, we've been saying this since last year, very soon what's happening to the waters out west is gonna have huge negative impacts on absolutely everyone. And there isn't gonna be anything that you can do economically about it. There will be no economic action that you can take against this. There is only one action that you can take, and it kind of seems like it's in the realm of economics, but it's the opposite of economics, is emergency has to be declared. Now, if you are, some people might not understand that. So you got to understand the workings of democracy, especially this so-called American version of what democracy is. You have to understand it to know what these incremental movements are, you know, what they mean, how they're going to end up playing out, being damaging to everyone. So things such as this, this bill that Biden put out about curbing inflation, this is it's opening the floodgates to the destruction of the environment. This is how stupid the people are in the so-called United States to not even be able to detect that when their talking head says, oh, this is good, we're going to do this, we're going to subsidize the electric car industry. Wow, that's all his friends. Let's see, who is that? Captains of industry. Who's electric cars? Elon Musk. Well, what's Elon Musk doing? What's he doing in this world? We know what he's doing. He's got a electric car company, but he's also got a moon destroying company. He's got a space colonization company. So who is that? That's captains of industry. That's Biden's pirate generals. So this is a huge attack on the environment that's happening right now. And we might think that this is a terrible thing, as it is a terrible thing. But if we go back to that picture, I'm not saying bring it up again. Just think of that image again of that lizard losing its skin with the dead skin on it, still on it, all intact, and the living skin beneath that. You can see where the life is. So just keep that image in your mind all the time to be able to comprehend what is really happening. Biden's bill. This is a last-ditch attempt of a bunch of insane thieves. That's the so-called United States. It's a last-ditch attempt from them to try to steal as much life as they can, as they know that they are being jettisoned. So, yeah, we need to look at everything from a dual perspective. Don't forget about that inversion. You know, the inversion is something that we all overlook, and we automatically think that because it makes sense, that we think that it's right. The whole world is in turmoil, is upside down, because everything that everybody was doing looks right. It looks like it's the right thing to do, like it can be substantiated. But the reality, again, go back to that image of the white skin cells dying. It all looks, all the activity is going to be there. You know, so if your life, you want to be alive, there's activity. That's where you're alive the most, where there's activity. So if you're a cell in the body of that lizard when the skin is coming off, and you'll see all the activity in the outer skin, in the dead skin, because it's releasing. There's a lot of stuff happening there. So people will be tricked. They'll think it's logic. It's not logic. It's an inverted logic. Yes, it is true, but it's a backwards truth. It's not a true truth. It's a truth from within the mirror. It's not the true thing. So right around the world right now, everybody is exposed to this. In every country right now, it's becoming more and more evident on a daily basis about how close we are to the mortality of water. Just 2 weeks ago now, we've heard that now no rainwater on the planet is safe to drink. What does that mean? That means no water on the planet is safe to drink. Now, is that just something that somebody said? Or is that something that is scientifically provable by, quite simply, scientists around the world taking measurements of what? What do they take measurements of? Parts per millions of something, of this or that, of plastics or some carcinogen. If they find too much in the water, that's when they say it's not safe. So we're at that stage. We were at that stage. If they said it 2 weeks ago, you know that means we were there 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, the rainwater was no longer safe to drink. Now, this means, of course, that a lot of people think that, well, you can't drink out of the river. Nobody's going to do that. But a lot of people think that, hey, we can drink the rainwater. And a lot of people have done this. As you know, people have devised ways, methods of how to collect rainwater. And they use that to wash up in, to maybe feed their crop, water their crops, even as their own drinking water, thinking that, well, it's falling out of the sky. It's not here in the ground yet where it's all polluted. But how stupid do people have to be to not know that there is no separation between earth and sky? That what is polluted here on earth is polluted in the sky. What's polluted in the sky pollutes here on the ground, pollutes into the ground. Well, we got so many of examples of this. It's coming out, like we said, on a daily basis, where if last month, I know what I was seeing looking at the news, you're barely hearing anything about water. The only thing you were seeing about water was what was happening to Lake Mead. And the only reason why they kept posting that in the news is because social media, where you have people who are taking their responsibility to be there on the ground, who are taking, who are videotaping, capturing all the images of showing how much the lake is dropping. And so the public is doing it. So mainstream media has been forced into jumping on that bandwagon. And all of a sudden, within the last month, now I'm seeing, where they didn't have anything written about this country, that country, France, Europe, France, Britain, Pakistan, Iraq, Iran, Australia, of course. Where else? Germany. Showing now all these places having droughts so bad that, like in Germany, where the news isn't so much that the river is draining. They don't really care to report that. What they report is that the economy of Germany is being affected. And why it's being affected is because shipments, cargo, up and down the river, the Rhine River, I guess main river in Germany, those shipments can't go through because the draft of the rivers are getting lower because the water is draining. The boats don't have enough clearance. That means they got to take less cargo So think of this. Last year, you were taking 100 pounds for $100. This year, you can only take 50 pounds and your fuel costs are twice as much. So what does that mean to the cost of that thing? It exponentializes it, not just by incremental steps, but it jumps steps, like jumping generations. Like if the cost was last year $100, and the fuel cost was, say, whatever the fuel was out of that, this year, less cargo, price of gas is more, you're charging more to ship that. So this is how we can see where hamburgers all of a sudden, last year were $1.50. Now this year they're $8. Now we can see why. A supersized fry last year was still the size of a supersize, and now it's the size of a large fry, but they're calling it a supersized fry, and they're charging you more than what the supersized fry actually costed 2 years ago. So we can see how it's getting to this stage. Well, how is it getting to this stage? Not just because of economic practices, but because those economic practices are destroying the environment, which in turn is lashing back. She's responding back to the things that we are doing. So you think like in so-called Lake Mead in the so-called United States, you see people there who are giving video updates almost on a daily basis. And you see from the time they've been doing it, the lake was this high, and it's this lower, lower, till there's almost nothing. But you still see all the people there on the water in those boats. And the people can't equate their actions of using those boats on that water as being part and parcel as to why that water is disappearing. Remember, we identified this thing called spiritual, physical, spatial displacement syndrome. This is something that you will experience, that all of us experience. We're going to experience it very soon through farms disappearing, farmlands disappearing. When that disappears, then what you're used to, going to the grocery store and looking at all those beautiful vegetables and thinking that, well, you don't have to think about conserving. You don't have to. So you just used to go to the grocery store and look like a pig. We got all of this there. We can take anything we want at any time. Now, because of what's happening with the waters, causing farmers to close up their farms because the government is paying them to do it, which means that as you get hungry, and if you can't afford it, now you can't even go to a farm to hope that there's a head of lettuce there for you to eat. Because now farmers are digging those up, they're destroying them. So imagine a world where people destroy food. That is an insane world. Insane in the first place to get to the stage of where you have this surplus. Not just something that you might be comfortable with, having a surplus of food over the year, over the winter, and that you can give it away to people. This is a surplus due to hoarding, due to speculation. So speculators now have tons of vegetables sitting in their warehouses. It's not the farmers who have these vegetables. It's not the supermarkets that have the vegetables. It's not the people who have it. It's the speculators. Who are they? Who are the speculators? Well, they're people who have to go shopping at the grocery store also. But they don't give a good goddamn, because the speculator is out to make the most money. They are the opportunists. And so we can see how everybody together have all created a windfall for them, where it's free money. We don't see it because we're not the captains of industry. But it's free money for the captains of industry right now. Because they don't even have to go through the process of creating a store and putting their product in there to sell it to you and you go there and buy it. They don't even have to do that anymore. They get the money straight out of you now through subsidies. You pretty soon you're not even gonna have the option, the choice of saying, well, today I'm gonna go to the grocery store and I'm gonna decide what kind of groceries I'm gonna buy. You're not gonna have that option because it's all subsidized for you. So we're coming right into full what'd you call this, robotization, full
Automation.
we're in automation, we're AI, we're AR, augmented reality. This is what we are now. Okay, on that, I don't know, is there anybody else that had anything to say on?
Actually, I just have something to comment because I saw that on the post about the declaration that was put out the other day. Somebody shared, I'm just gonna share it so everybody see it. This thing about the Mi'kmaq also posting something about protecting the sacred areas within the Big Salmon River watershed, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just like a super coincidence that they are saying this on the same day that this document is being put up. And also just today, I saw on the Devoir, you know, the French media, that Nunavut is declaring an emergency state because of lack of water. So it's just like, you know, I was wondering if you had saw that and what did you think about the fact that everywhere in the world there has been crisis of water, you know, and for example, I will just cite Mexico that I follow, you know, it's like in the north, you know, we had the Griselda that they invited this Maracame to do the ceremony for water. So everybody should have been enacting like emergency on waters everywhere, but they haven't. So for me, it's like, wow, the fact that here the native people are saying something about the waters just like 3 in a row like that, it seems to me a big coincidence, and it's something big that here in a place that you would believe that there's a lot of water and that nobody's gotta worry about it, that's there, that people are worrying about. So I don't know, I just wanted to bring it up, make the connection and see what you thought about
That
that.
Nunavut, that's like what they used to call the Northwest Territories, right?
Yep.
Okay, I remember back in the 70s seeing a documentary about the Northwest Territories being completely polluted. All the little lakes and everything there had from the Canadian industry, thousands and thousands of barrels of toxic whatever. They used to just take it and dump it into the lakes, just drop it there. I guess hoping that it would sink into it, I guess like the mix of the permafrost and the bogs, you know, like hoping that it would just, because apparently I've heard this recently that they're looking at bogs, they had to put nuclear waste in. So anyway, so in that area, I remember seeing this in this documentary. They were showing it was a plane flying over the land, and you look how it is there. It's like just, it looks like swamp and lakes everywhere. Huh? And as they're flying over, they just seen barrels everywhere in every lake. That's in the 1970s. I remember seeing that. So none of it. Yeah, you know, this is the reason why they went and they created a place called Nunavut, let the natives get involved in their business so that when the shit hits the fan, it's the natives left holding the shit. You know, and look, there's a lot of white people there. Are they going to be on board with this state of emergency? You're going to see a division between the white people and the native people, because the white people aren't going to know the emergency. All they're going to see is there's emergency being created because of the state of emergency that's affecting their pocketbook. But state of emergency is what's identified, has to be declared. Because when a province or a state or a fed declares emergency, then that means that there's all kinds of contingency plans that go into effect. And this even affects you, where you, in emergency, your taxes, your land taxes, even your rents are canceled out. Look at what happened in the past 2 years, right? How many people had their rents canceled out? Where? Not that the landlord said, okay, you don't have to pay the rent. But the fact is that because of subsidies, the federal government and provincial and stuff like this, when emergencies are declared, monies are freed up, giving the people the ability to address the emergency. But if no emergency is addressed and you got to go about your daily business to put food on the table, then you're going to do the work to put the food on your table. You're not addressing the emergency. So once local, state, provincial, and federal, and even international governments declare a worldwide emergency, this is the only time that people are going to be able to have their time, their energy freed up, even their money's freed up, to be able to put it where, and to do with their energy what would actually be addressing the emergency. But right now, you are seeing it. You're seeing stories now emerging from every country on earth of their rivers, their lakes drying up. This should trigger the emergency switch in your mind. We're in a state of emergency. This ain't no fooling around. If we cannot drink the rainwater, and you just think right now, how hot it is here, we're experiencing very hot here. No, look at these countries where they're super mega hot. Hey, let's look at Britain. They just had this mega heat wave there, and you can't drink the rainwater. Well, what was happening with them there? Well, they're totally dependent on who? Bottled water companies. Totally dependent on them. So those captains of industry, those pigs, are getting mega rich off of it. And the more that they bottle water, the more they're destroying the water. So the people, the non-native people, are just completely sick in the head, have no clue of what they're doing. They're just following the leader. Who's their leader? Your leader is the Pied Piper. He's following you right to your debts. The solutions that people think they're getting to these problems are not solutions. Okay, anyways, let's see, what else here? Just a lot of preparations for the law recital. Very good mood is happening. There is a shift that is taking place. I could feel it in my bones. For myself, I know what I know. Doesn't matter even trying to explain it, what I know, to anybody. It doesn't really matter. I know what I've been taught. I know what I've been prepared for. And I know that everything that I've been taught and prepared for, it all comes to a head right now, in a matter of days. All my life, this is what I knew. Just like if you go to school to be a nurse, then you know that one day your nursing abilities is going to be put to their test. And when it does, this is when you're going to say, this is what I trained for. Yeah. So this is what I've been trained for. And I know that what is coming, that it is the biggest challenge. It is the biggest test to our humanity in every way. So it's myself, I am very happy this time is here. I'm happy to rise to the challenge. Everybody, rise to the challenge of your humanity. Don't just sit on your asses and do nothing. Imagine in a time like now, what we are experiencing, how many of you are just sitting on your asses, doing absolutely nothing? How could that make sense for you? I cannot make sense of doing nothing in a time like this. We have to be hyperactive. We have to be fighting against everything that's coming to a head. And if we think of that picture again of the dead skin coming off of the body, we gotta be fighting right there on that cellular level to free ourselves of all of this corruption. Just like that lizard would be maybe rubbing up against sticks and stones and maybe even scratching its new skin to get that dead skin off. But once that dead skin is off, freedom, vibrancy, life returning to the body like never before, because that's what happens, when a snake, a lobster, a lizard, anything sheds its skin or its shell, right away, as soon as the process is done, it looks more vibrant than before, more full of life. It's a very important stage of our creation that we are coming up to. And take note of it, because all of you, all of us, we have all been here before. So this false concept of death that God has created, that religion has created, this gets you to not know these things, to not be prepared for these things, to just, you're oblivious, and all of a sudden things are happening to you. That has happened all the time to the living body. But all of a sudden, just this generation doesn't know, isn't tuned in, not connected to the process that's happening. It's just this generation, the stupid generation. So don't be a part of the stupid generation. Okay, I think I'm just blabbing now. Unless there's something that anybody's got. Any questions, anything? If not, I'll give you 5 seconds and we're closing. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, your seconds are.
Okay, now we'll go with everybody. So, yeah, we're just gonna leave it at that. You might not see this right now, but we are tired. There is a lot of stuff that is being done, squeezed into a tiny space. So you might not see the tiredness right now. So taking off and early tonight, you might say, why are you doing that? How could you be tired? You're only here for so long. Well, it's because this is within a whole moon of other things that are all interconnected, all this business that's happening. So we don't look at just this one tiny thing or this one day. We always go over that continuum, and then you can see, where the pressures are, what's got to be done to alleviate. So having an early night for all of us is going to be good. It's going to be good. What do we got going on? When is the law recital now? What's the date today?
The 20th is in just 1 week.
1 week.
7 days. So we start next Saturday?
Mhm.
Oh, wow. Law recital starts next Saturday. For me now, let me see. We started doing the law recitals complete in 87. I can't count off the top of my head right now how many law recitals myself been in, but this is going to be the first one, the first official one that I do without my father. Anybody else, if there's the law recital, there's supposed to be all the chiefs and clan mullers. So there's 96 people there. 96 people to conduct law recital, to remember everything. In the past, at least there was my father and I to remember everything. Now, this is the first time that official law recital, it's going to be just myself. So it is a big strain, and you cannot see the strain right now, but in my mind, in my spirit, there is a strain right now because I'm coming up to this thing without the help that I've always had. Try to do something that it takes 96 people to do. Try to do something that in the past 2 people were doing. And you'll just see that it's hard. It's stressful. And the best way to deal with that stress is, of course, to free your mind of it. And so this, for me, it has been a summer of laying in the sun. I do, well, it's not any different than it's been every year anyways. This is what I do. I lay in the sun. Laying in the sun is where I get my power, my knowledge, my spirit rejuvenated. I am of the male, and so I am in the camp of the mighty warrior. And it is with that mighty warrior where I get my rejuvenation. And so somebody might see me laying in the sun, and they'll say, "Hey, you lazy bum, what are you doing? You say you got all this stuff to do and it's so stressful." You got no idea the work that's being done. Well, I am laying in the sun, absorbing the energy of our eldest brother, the mighty warrior, receiving that way of the mighty warrior. Now, what is that? You just know it as the sun. I'm laying in the sun. No, replace the sun with mighty warrior. Okay, what is the way of a mighty warrior? And whatever that way is, that way will benefit you. If you follow that way and you stay true to it, then you will be of that also. And so, for me, laying in the sun has always been my source of energy. I've always done this. It's not something that is this year. Anybody who knows me, that's what I do. I lay in the sun. So, Southern Hardo. Everybody enjoy the sun. Enjoy it at least for these next 7 days. It's funny, the 7 days, well, not funny, not coincidental, but we know that no matter what, if we were 100 days away, eventually we would be 7 days away. So now we are an increment. When we think of the openings and closings of the door of Grandma Moon, as to the quarters, the halves, the first half, the second half, and the times, the spaces in between, we know that it ratios out to 7. But we know that sometimes it's 8.5, sometimes it's 9. So I can see how right now of what I'm saying that there's a lot of people would have no clue of what the hell I'm saying. This is why it's important for us, anybody who is in this vein, that you really have to keep up to date, up to the minute, with all this ongoing conversation that we're having. Because like for instance, what I just said about quarters and halves and 7 days and 9.5 days, somebody just walking into this conversation for the first time is going to have no clue. What we're talking about is about the days in between the moons and how this is the proper way of how to keep time. Because it doesn't relegate you to a 24-hour period where you have to get up in 24 hours. No, it relegates you to a time when it's ready, where it's within an space of approximates. Yeah, it's supposed to end, but when does she end? Oh, she's still going. She's still dancing at midnight. No, you're supposed to end. You're supposed to be finished. Stop dancing. No, she wants to dance. She keeps dancing. It ends when she wants. That's when it's over, in that space of approximates. And when she does, then that approximate is specific. Okay, anyways, I know there's a lot of people who aren't going to have any clue what I just said. You have to be in the continuing conversation. Okay, so we'll leave it at that. I got nothing else to say. What's going on this week? From now until next Saturday when the recital starts, the only thing scheduled is the Wednesday Zoom, and that continues as usual. Nothing else is scheduled. So we're free for a whole moon. for about the last 4 or 5 times of us doing law recital, it has always taken 26 days. So, you know, it might be 26 days, might be 24, could even be more, could be 30, could be 30 days. This is what we're saying, when it's ready. When she's ready, then that's when the time is gonna be. Okay, so, am I forgetting anything? Anybody know of anything that I should be identifying? Okay, the declaration, not declaration, whatever, the statement we put out yesterday, is basically identifying that we are in a worldwide water emergency. Everybody needs to counsel on a state of of our water emergency that is confronting all of us. Counsel on this in your own family. Counsel on this with your friends, with your associates. Counsel on these things with people that you trust, just to talk about, just to say what's happening with the waters. And if you need to, be the one who in your family or in your circle of friends who initiates and who puts forward the facts, because you know there's always going to be the stupid people who are you're going to say something right to their face. It's daytime. They're going to look at you and they're going to go, what? They're going to say, prove it. You know, there's always the stupid people. So gather up your information. I've been doing this. You can, if you want, you could just go to our Facebook page and look at the information that we place there about all the different stories about what's happening with waters around the world. So then just get these examples and show it to people. Hey, what do you think about this? How could there be droughts all over the place? How come all of a sudden in Israel now and in California that they're talking about desalination? And everybody knows the cost of desalination. That's insane. You do not desalinate the water. Would you what do we have in our blood? What's it called that's in our blood?
Plasma.
What did you say?
Plasma.
Hemoglobin?
Oh yeah.
Hemoglobin. Would we filter the hemoglobin out of our hemoglobin? Hemoglobin is blood, right? Would we filter the blood out of our blood? Whatever it is that is the meat and potatoes of our blood on the inside, would we filter that out? You'd have to be stupid. What happens when you start to desalinate the water? Does anybody know? Nobody knows. But water comes in to us anyways. Right now, we can break it down to 2 simple forms, fresh and salt. It comes that way. How stupid do we have to be knowing that all the destruction we've caused to the ecosystem in its entirety, and now we're going to start desalinating water, taking water that has been earmarked to be salt water, and to turn it into something that's not. Let's compare. Let's see. In our bloodstream, 2 different kinds. Yeah. What are the 2 different kinds in our blood? Red and white. Red blood cells and white blood cells. That's what everybody's got. It doesn't matter the type of blood you got. That doesn't matter. But in everybody, in every type of blood, you got red cells and white cells. What do? Red cells are just go about their regular business. They do the farming. They do the planting. They get the water, all of that stuff. The white cells are supposed to do another job completely, entirely different. They work in symbiosis. It's like here, if I'm a red blood cell, I'm supposed to be planting. Okay, I'm planting this well. Red blood cell. Well, the job of the white blood cell is to watch over me while I'm doing this and to look for if there's any foreign bacteria, anything that's going to poison me, anything that's going to make all of us sick. So the white and the red blood cells are supposed to work together. It's very funny, that it's referred to and that they are white and red blood cells. And we look at the white man and the red man, and we can break this world down in between those two, because all the other men don't make a difference. They're all just following the white into destruction. So it is us, the red man, the red people, that are the Indian version of what takes place in the body. No, we red in the body are the equivalent, are the white blood cells, and the white man in the white in the blood is the equivalent to the white man external here, the red in the blood. So they do their jobs. Are we going to start switching the red man to be the white, or switch the white man to be the red? This is truly witchcraft, because these are the things that priests, the Catholic Church, targeted out in women and identified as alchemy. Working on the very small level, on the molecular level, to alter things. This is alchemy. That's witchcraft. Alchemy is why women got drowned, why women got burned around the world by Catholicism, by religion. And now you look at what Israel is doing. And what's Israel? That's religion. That is not a group of people. It's just a religion. It's a bunch of fanatics. And so what they're doing now is they're desalinating the water. They're artificial in the first place. And they got to desalinate the water, make the water artificial in order to keep them alive in their artificial state, because they cannot survive there where they are. No one in the Middle East, the so-called Middle East, is going to be able to survive there. It is unlivable. It's unlivable. And very appropriately so, because that is the land from where the devil slithered out of the dark chasm from which he came. And it comes from those so-called holy lands, that ever since those holy lands have been holienated, that they've been at war ever since. That's their holy God. Anyways, the corruptions, as you can see, like this, we can continue to point them out. They're all over the world. It's happening. Being revealed on a daily basis, where anybody can put two and two together. So what are you going to do? Are you going to put two and two together? Are you going to take action? You have to do something. And now we have only 7 days in which to do anything. And this means to have our plan on anything. Do you have a plan? Well, Guyana Go has a plan for absolutely anything that can arise. So we are prepared. We have a plan. The rest of the world is not prepared. Not prepared for what's going to happen. I mean, realistically, none of us are. But I mean, you can say, if you're aware that this is coming, well, then, like say the people who walked out into the bottom of the ocean when the tsunami started, when the water got sucked out. If those people walking down there were aware, of course, they wouldn't have been there. So awareness is the key thing here to survival. Okay. It's 9 o'clock.
Almost.
You made it. I can keep jibber jabbering until 9.
7 more minutes.
No, never mind. Okay, أنا قريب واحد جوكو. Years ago, away.
Oh, wow.
No way off. How did you say that?
Oh, I used to know.
I was so annoyed. Time to close. One of the reasons why we always experience this, that we don't want to end, and just like the socials, nobody ever wanted them to end. It's because when we're together, this is the time of happiness, this is the time of knowledge, it's the time of magic. So law recital, try to be with your people as much as possible, your family, your friends. Try to be in the same vicinity, close, just to be close, so that you can hear when your sister, your brother, your mother, your son, your daughter, your friend, so that you can hear when they laugh, so that you can hear when they cry, so that you can be with them in their happiness and in that sadness, so that you can experience it with them, the happiness, and that you can assist them in their sadness. If you're not there, you're not going to hear the laughter, and you're not going to hear the cries, and you're not going to know. It's only going to be something that you're going to hear later on. So be there. Be in the moment with your friends, your family. Live this life the way that we're supposed to. Experience it together. Don't go off on your own the way that democracy makes you, because this is where you are enslaved, and your friends and family will not know. And you'll be right there with them, and you won't be able to express it to them. This is the state of the world. The whole world cannot express, they cannot find the words to talk themselves out of this mess that they have gotten themselves into. They gotta be able to discover the words. You need the words. Okay. Are okay out again? Yet is out the gun on there, not the headstone. I'm gonna go here that you have a quick. Damdawe or on headset, does it stasser on the Ganungwe. Damdawe or on headset, Guego on the border, Guyana Rasta, on the Skana. We ask that everybody take everything, these words home, and not just the words, take the feeling, the sentiment home. If maybe you're not going to understand in these words, but maybe you'll understand in the feeling, in the look in your mother's eyes, the look in your sister's, your brother's eyes, when you're there, when you can say, I heard you laugh, I heard you cry. What's that about? It's not there no more because we don't live together. We're not at peace anymore. We have been agitated. So we must work our way back to our center, to our peace, to our state of mind of where we are no longer agitated. Okay. So getting the whole day of air to solid, air to solid, air to solid. Kenya has a wage in Juliana. So now we'll go
Yay.
later. Oh.
Anna, love you, said somebody else.